A very good afternoon. Today we shall talk about innovation assumptions and barriers. There are four assumptions of innovation which are actually put forth by an innovator himself, Mr. Vijay Kumar, in his book 101 Design Methods. The four assumptions are: innovation as it is currently practiced is good enough. Innovation is for executives. Innovations is for practitioners. Innovation planning is an oxymoron. So let's spend the next couple of minutes carefully dissecting each of these statements and looking at how these assumptions are impacting innovations and innovators across the globe. Assumption 1: innovation as it is currently practiced is good enough. This actually says companies look at the product development process, they feel whatever is going on well, whatever is resulting in good growth for the product or the process is good enough. More often than not, the current processes of innovation are designed to provide incremental features. You have the Maruti Alto, then you have the Maruti Alto 800, then you have the Maruti Alto 800 with automatic transmission. The car is the same. It's just as the features are incremental, slow, step by step. Innovation is good enough. The thought process breaks down when a company attempts to make something truly innovative. It tries to meet new and undefined needs in rapidly evolving marketplaces. So, innovation as it is currently practiced is good enough. How can that come back to bite you? Existing tools will meet existing needs. If you think the above statement is valid, the only tool belt you have with you in your the only tool you have in your tool belt is going to be a hammer. Everything looks like a nail and you only want to keep hitting the nail. So innovation currently practiced is good enough. Wrong process. Innovation is for executives. This assumes that only the executives are responsible for the strategy of the company, direction of the company. Only they must take the ownership of innovation initiatives. Surprisingly, people doing the day to day work also have very innovative ideas with the products that they make. It becomes very crucial to note you need structures and processes to plan, define, and execute innovation. It's only when the team makes the decision and the team wants to move forward on an innovation, it is going to be well thought out and it brings the product to the marketplace in a successful manner. So, assumption 2, broken. Assumption 3, innovation is only for practitioners. I don't agree. This is because the researchers and engineers help you develop the product. These so called practitioners must work with the other team members. So, the designer, the technological person who's trying to innovate and bring the new offering to market must also look at the strategic objectives of the company, must also understand how company strategies, tactical business decisions, day to day business, different cross functional teams work together in order for innovation to be a success. The fourth and the last assumption: innovation planning is an oxymoron. Absolutely not. What people think that innovation products are produced purely out of the box, something truly offbeat. Innovation planning thereby it's assumed to be an oxymoron. Again, this is going to be removed because innovation planning involves detailed documents, specifications, company objectives, success criterion, and very few companies can afford to invest large amounts of time, money in innovation without controlling it. Thereby, if companies are to be innovative, they should develop new, structured, and planned processes for innovation to be a success. So, this, ladies and gentlemen, were the four assumptions of innovation which we have successfully been able to break. Why don't people innovate? So, now we come to the second part of our talk, which talks about barriers for innovation. So, as we quickly glance through the same, biggest barrier for innovation is fear. There's no guarantee a new idea will work. But if you're scared of bringing in a new idea because it's going to fail, you're not going to be an innovator. Second one, there's no proper leadership because innovation is driven by the top management. If people continue to do what they've always done, which is the top management, and choose not to innovate and bring that culture in their company, innovation doesn't take place, plain and simple. Short term thinking, people tend to think in the short term and not look at long term growth. So, any new innovation, you expect it to have immediate impact, but under the pressure to deliver returns quickly, what happens is no proper research is done. The product or the process is rushed into the marketplace, and this could lead to a failure. Fourth one, there is no resource or capacity for the company. If the company doesn't have money, it doesn't have the time, doesn't have the people, this can be a big barrier on innovation. Lack of collaboration. The different departments, the different organizational structures, the budgeting, finance, human resources don't collaborate. And if you don't collaborate, you cannot innovate. Sixth one, people don't have the time. People don't have the space to innovate. They only focus on being safe and looking at products which consistently keep delivering revenue time and time and time again. So, this is a barrier to innovation. Lack of focus. If an organization is not clear on where it wants to go today, tomorrow, the day after, it can't spend time on innovation activities, brainstorming, and thereby won't make a difference, remains like the frog in the well and will not be an innovator. Lots of ideas, no delivery to the market. Most organizations have a plethora of ideas, but taking relevant ideas, progressing them, bringing them to market becomes a big barrier. No clear processes. Ideas slowly die in organizations because they don't have a well-defined structure or a process for taking this idea and making it into a marketable innovation. No urgency. Companies believe, well, our product is doing good, let it be. I don't have any immediate requirement to bring it to market. So they believe doing nothing is okay. They don't look at it, they deal with only day-to-day pressures and an innovation dies. There are few other barriers of innovation, cost being one which is very important. So you see there are three types of costs which actually could become barriers. Search and information cost, bargaining and decision cost, policing and enforcement costs. As we move to further slides, this will start to make sense to you. Learning cost to implement a new solution, to learn about it, is a cost which some companies prefer avoiding because this adds to their CTC for the employee and thereby they choose to ignore. Obsolescence cost, getting rid of an old solution, getting rid of old technology and moving to a newer platform makes companies very apprehensive about change and thereby they don't choose to innovate. There are some risks in innovating as well. Psychological risk. See, a solution has worked for us for 8 years, 10 years, 15 years. Why should I change it? Why should I innovate? Why replace what is broken is one statement which is dangerous and almost death-like for an innovation mindset in an organization. Customers view what they own as part of their endowment. Meaning, if you are bringing in an innovation, it is really successful, the customer owns it. If the innovation is not successful, the customer loses it. So they believe innovation is going to be their own bread and butter, their own cup of tea, but it's not exactly the case. That becomes a barrier again. Status quo bias. Give a customer a new benefit, looks at it as a gain. Take away a benefit, looks at it as a loss. So, based on how much time you own a product, this loss or profit scenario can expand or decrease. This can become another big barrier because they are not keen for absorbing new innovation. Sloth factor, people are lazy. Innovation requires work, effort, and thought. Status quo requires no thought. So I'm comfortable not innovating. Psychological cost, I'm looking at the cost of the innovation vis a vis the benefit, and I decide, hey, it's not going to affect me if I don't innovate. Let the status quo remain. Consumers overvalue existing benefits. They look at advantages of the product they own more than the new one. So if I have a Maruti Alto, I'm happy with it. 8 years, 10 years, 12 years, no problem. You bring in the Alto 800 with the automatic gearbox, I don't care that much. I'm happy with my good old Maruti Alto. So consumers can actually be a barrier. Executives overvalue innovation. They feel if a product is innovative, I can sell it for more than it's actually going to hold its place, and they overvalue it, and this can become a detrimental factor. Interesting thing, the 9x effect. It says consumers are skeptical about a new product's performance. They are unable to see the need for it. Satisfied with the existing product. Quick to see what they own as the status quo. So what happens is they have a factor of 3. They overweigh the product's benefits. Companies are convinced the innovation will work. They are likely to see a need for the product, not happy with the existing substitute. They view the innovation as the benchmark. So they add another factor of 3. This 9x effect is how consumers and companies are actually pulling down innovation and not allowing it to succeed. If there is a call to innovate, there are going to be strong triggers and strong barriers. Before you build a product, find out what the barriers are, how you change your product or marketing strategy to avoid or negate such barriers. There are triggers to innovation and competitive forces that you must overcome to succeed in addition to the barriers. Thank you so much and have a wonderful